now. So I am joined by Judge Lund. If you just want to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm Gretchen Lund, and I'm the judge of Elkhart Superior Court number 4.
Thank you. Yeah, and as you think about the way that VORP has worked within the court system, getting clients that are referred to us from courts and probation, how do you think that going through the victim offender reconciliation process helps hold people accountable while also giving them the opportunity to make things right for those that they have harmed?
I like the accountability that it offers for the offender. I think that oftentimes, although it's never easy to come up with money, I'm not suggesting that that's the purpose, but a non-face-to-face interaction with writing a check or paying into the clerk's office doesn't really tell the whole story. And so I think that allowing persons to meet and to go through this process does create a greater sense of accountability. I think for the victims, it offers closure and the opportunity to have their day, to say their piece, and to sometimes make peace with the experience. So I do think it's a win for everyone. It's something that I have used often in my court, the suggestion of the lawyers, and sometimes just after I've had a chance to look at the case and think that this might be a good opportunity for both parties to have some reconciliation.
Thank you. Yeah, how do you think VORP creates a space for reconciliation that they might not have in a traditional court setting?
Well, traditionally courts are very formal, so they're not going to sit down at a table and talk through some of these things. You're not allowed to. You shouldn't, at least, be able to get angry and speak. You can certainly address the court. You can tell the court how you feel. But I do think that there is just this kind of, as it should be, this formality to the process that doesn't lend itself to a lot of personal speak, that people can actually sit down and talk to one another. And we don't have the time, we don't have the resources to do that here in court. VORP can offer that to all of our participants.
Thank you. Yeah. How, and you sort of already spoke to it, but I'm wondering, in what ways have you seen, or do you see the VORP process giving victims more of a voice in the process?
Well, it gives them a chance not only to fill out we give them the chance to fill out a statement, and they can address the court at a sentencing if they wish. But again, I just think that there's something to be said about someone sitting down with them and going through their loss. It may not be a monetary loss. Not all loss is based on money. Some of it is sense of security, loss of privacy. They're scared. This can offer them an opportunity, like I said, to kind of close this particular chapter and have a sense of peace that they might not otherwise have been able to achieve in court.
Okay, so the VORP process helps give people closure, reconciliation, and a form of peace for themselves. How do you think that CCJ helps people get justice?
Through the whole process. I mean, justice is kind of a fluid term when you think about it. I mean, we have justice in court, but I certainly think equally as true, you can have justice in a conference room where persons are going through a mediation or a settlement conference. I always tell persons that oftentimes when they come up with their own solution, they're going to be much happier than if I decide, because usually someone or both are unhappy if I make a decision. But if they sit down and talk through some things, most of the time there's this sense of they each got their say and they agree moving forward what that resolution is. You don't always have that if there's a court decision.
Okay, so because both the victim and offender are empowered through the VORP process and have that voice, it means that they're going to have ownership of the agreement and not it being something that's just sort of imposed.
It's not arbitrary. It's something they personally agreed to.
Great, thank you. Yeah, as you said at the beginning, sometimes not everybody agrees to meet. So if there is a victim that's not sure they want to meet the offender through the VORP process, is there any sort of encouragement that you would give them to help them think about why it's important to give the face-to-face encounter a shot?
We don't usually have the opportunity to speak with the victims unless they're coming to address the court at sentencing. So
Mhm.
oftentimes that responsibility is going to lie with their victim advocate
Mhm.
or with the prosecuting attorney's office. And my experience has been that both with victim assistance and the prosecutor's office, that they do strongly encourage folks to participate, particularly if they feel like even at the conclusion of the sentencing hearing, there's still a sense of loss and lack of closure. I have felt like they have utilized the VORP process appropriately.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about the role that you see CCJ playing in the Elkhart community?
I just think that anytime that we can expand in our opportunity, we look at CCJ and this victim offender reconciliation program serving those who have experienced injustice in the criminal system. But there's a lot of hurt and a lot of resolution that we need in our civil system.
Mhm.
And, I see, because I have a civil docket, landlord tenant disputes that oftentimes involve family and friend relationships and neighborhood disputes. And so I see a real possibility and perhaps, some thoughtful thinking forward about how can we better invest in some of those opportunities, because sometimes those will lead itself into criminal activity. And if we can head it
Mhm.
off at that level, we're all going to be better served. And so I'm hopeful, and I think you all have a great mission and understanding of what the community needs. So I just think that the more we can expand into those kinds of disputes, finding people where they're at, bringing humanity to the table, the better off we are all going to be.
Right. Appreciate it.